Welcome, welcome. We are going to dive in with Michael. It's our second time that we are coming together to share some magic with you all and to activate you all at a soul level so that you can take it into your real shifts occur in your life. What we're here for, we're here to evolve at a soul level and to cut through the conditions and programmings of ways things have been. Hello, Michael.
Hey,
So good to see you once again.
same
Part
here.
two. How are
How
you
does it
doing?
get any better?
Yeah, I know, right? I was just sharing with everyone we're here to continue to shift things and get into the soul level. And so let's get right into it.
Let's do it.
Our intention is to create some magic for you all to move throughout your day and week and really start seeing changes in your reality. So, yeah, our intention together. Michael is an incredible soul, and last time we were together, beautiful things occurred. If you haven't watched last time, message me and I will get you the link to watch that part as well because it was a beautiful, beautiful activation. So let's get into the magic today, Michael. Let's start off like share some wisdom and knowledge with us today.
Yes, thank you. First of all, thank you for organizing and having. It's really fun and beautiful to be here. Thank you. So two things that you wanted to talk about emotions, which is also a great topic. And what came to me is idea also of judgments, of what we make judgments, how we look at them, how we engage and interact with them. And one of the things that I heard once that really changed my whole engagement with judgment was realizing and acknowledging that judgments are not real. You know, we put so much emphasis that judgment is something that's true and real and significant and bigger than us. However, in reality, well, not in reality, but there's another point of view that you're being offered to, and that is that judgment is not real. Judgment is not something that's true, and judgment that's not something that's bigger than you or more significant than you. It's actually the opposite. You're always bigger than all the judgments and all the conclusions and all the things that people onto us.
Yeah.
So obviously it takes work, it takes practice, but this idea, this building block that you can have as part of your foundation, that judgment is not something I should be agreeing with. It's just what comes up, and I still have an ability to change, transform, work through, transmute, change what is happening.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely. I'm like, it's just my soul's on fire. I'm like, we are so connected at a level because this is something that has probably been one of my biggest shifts in my life with even the soul journey I'm on. Because if you think about the basic of judgment is one, I think our biggest mirror of ourselves. And two, think about that at a subconscious level. I mean, the question is, where did I even learn that judgment? Like that thought that came up about something, where did I learn that to be true or for that to even come into mind to perceive it in that way? What colored glasses am I wearing that I saw it in that lens? Because
yeah,
we're all going to see it in a different lens. And I think it's beautiful that you can, because even if sometimes we're like, oh, I judge that thing, it's going, but you caught it. Like
yeah,
if we can catch it, that's the first step, right? So even the idea, I'd given an example about how, you could be, I mean, something as simple as physical as someone's appearance or look or, I mean, right, already we're giving some judgment about that. And again, where did I learn that? Who did I hear saying
yeah,
judgment about that in my past? And
totally.
really starting to change the narrative. Well, if I get to decide right now, what do I want to decide about that? Because really it's coming from an inner. Like if I'm judging that, I always say that people that judge are unhappy with themselves.
Yeah,
And so when you really start working on the self and the line to self, I don't judge much anymore. And if I do, I catch it very quickly and I shift it. But it's really a powerful, I mean, gosh, as your mind gets so much stronger when there's not room for thoughts of judgment, because then there's more room for what else comes in when there's not room for judgment thoughts.
totally, totally. Yeah, yeah. One thing that I learned through Access Consciousness, a beautiful kind of like point of view, is that judgment is a conclusion. It's a
Yes,
dead end.
yes,
Meaning you just proclaimed that this is what is, and you close the door. You just entered a dead-end situation, and you don't look at any other possibilities. However, that's not what the law of the universe is. The law and the way this universe and the way we operate is that there's always multiple different possibilities that exist, right? So when you choose, align, and agree, and start to connect and like kind of eat up this judgment, all it starts doing is kind of closing all possibilities for you. Instead of you acknowledging the truth, which is there's infinite possibilities, right? And another tool that really helped me was because sometimes you know, like for example, what if you meet someone and you're like, you know what, I'm not enjoying their energy and their vibe, etc., right? So how do you determine, is that a judgment or what is it? And what helped me a lot is a simple question where you ask, is this a judgment or am I being aware?
It's a judgment or am I being? Actually, I'd love for those that are watching to pause and think about someone maybe recently you interact with. It could be a stranger or someone you know. And even in a moment where you notice something, again, Michael, can you say that question one more time so beautifully that we can all tap into?
Am I judging or am I being aware of something? And what am I being aware of?
Yeah, beautiful. And Michael, if I can add one more thing that's coming through too is what am I making it mean? Because it's really going up with the lens of us. Because again, we get so focused on like they said this or they're acting this way or they have this energy. But even a moment of what am I making this mean just right now?
Yeah.
But maybe even just dancing with all those three questions, seeing whichever one like pulls you to see. What a beautiful dance of that in mind and presence of interacting and connecting with others. It's really just a deeper connection with self.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And deeper awareness, Mariel, deeper awareness with your awareness, because you are awareness, right?
Oh, we are. Yeah. Yeah. As we
So,
need to be.
yeah. So when you ask this question, you start to have a discernment. You start to have an ability to differentiate what is, am I just judging them, right? Or am I aware? And awareness, the difference also energetically, if you want to play around with this, is awareness is usually very light.
Yeah.
Awareness is not significant. It doesn't have so much weight and, you know, oh my God, it's, you know, this kind of like heaviness to it. As opposed to a judgment is usually very heavy. It's usually very significant. It has a reaction to it. You react to judgments, right? Awareness is, and it leaves you in a space of choosing whatever you want to do with this energy, right? Or this individual and this person. A judgment puts you into conclusion. This is a bad situation. This is negative. This is a bad space. This is a bad person, etc. And you're locked. That's it.
Yeah, I feel like it's almost like it feels there's like a period at the end is the judgment, and I would get the light thought is in the awareness is more of like a interesting. It's like an opening.
Totally.
And you know, if you look at nature, right? Nature doesn't judge. And again, even
No.
animals, like they don't know what judgment is. They don't know. They're just doing their thing. And if you look at everything in nature, like it's still growing. Even you know, I'm in Arizona and it's like 110 out. Somehow the grass still grows, the trees still grow. And when you were talking about, you know, when you close the door with judgment, think about like it's a tree. A tree has awareness and it's kind of that interesting, and it continues to grow. The branches, the leaves. And then what would happen with the judgment is you chop down the tree completely, right? And then it's like we're done. It's a stump. It's like the Giving Tree, you know, book, which is a very interesting of how you would want to metaphor contemplate what that story really is about. But it really is that are we expanding from this thought or are we contracting from this thought? And you're right, judgment just ends it's like it's growth mindset first fixed mindset, right? Like, oh, I noticed that, interesting, versus I noticed that, that's what it is. And that's what you can see with some people is that where they just have decided this is it, right? And then people that really are here to expand and evolve and elevate are like always going to ask more questions or get curious about a judgment or thought. And that alone is consciousness.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And also to acknowledge that really there's nothing above consciousness. Like I'm preparing for one of my classes today, and what the topic is the acknowledgement that if you believe something is negative or something is bad, you don't really acknowledge that you are an infinite being. You are a being that is consciousness, and consciousness, as also very beautifully says in Access, it's consciousness includes everything and judges nothing, like nature, right? Like nature, for example, includes everything and judges nothing, and that is such a beautiful invitation to look at things in a very different way, right? Not to look at it as a conclusion. I just got reminded of a story and a metaphor that one of the great Kabbalists, Rav Ashlag, the founder of a Kabbalah Center, says, and he basically uses also a metaphor of a tree. And he says, if you come up to an apple tree and an apple just started to bloom, right? Just started to appear. And you at that moment take the apple and bite it, and it's going to be sour. It's going to be so unpleasant for you. It's going to be hard to eat, hard to chew. It's going to be almost complete waste and so unbeneficial to you, right? You can at that moment conclude that apple trees are bad. All apples are bad. Apples should not be eaten. And let's cut off all the apple trees, right? Instead of asking a question saying, wait a minute, does this fruit need more time to bloom, right? And to come to its fruition? And if you have patience and you give it time and you ask, what can I contribute? If you water it, if you let it, soak up more sun, then you're going to see a beautiful, delicious apple at the end, right? So also acknowledging that some things that when you see that if you're aware that something is not necessarily in its greatest state, you can at that time also ask a question and say, hey, what can I contribute to this? Even just that question, just the question contributes energetically to a person or a situation to allow it to go to its different level, to go to its next phase.
And Michael, can we just let's stay on this Apple thing because I love it so much. And actually, it's so funny. I just saw a book yesterday about Steve Jobs, and he created the icon of the Apple and Apple phones. Like constantly how I'm communicating with you today, right? So, but even to an Apple itself, we could even again think about subconscious, the judgments that we've created or not created around even right that Eve eating the apple, and that's what caused a lot of things to go down here. Or Snow White, right? She eats the poisonous apple, or apple, I know in Judaism, right? It's apple for a new year, like apples and honey for it's like the newness, and all of these, you could say, judgments, labels of what an apple represents. And even too, in our world today with, diet culture and all that too, it's like, apples and fruit are good. No, it's too much sugar. And this kind of apple, organic or not, or there are all these judgments that can occur. And even the metaphor that you gave, was it just that one apple that wasn't? And so then we're going to label all apples as, it's like having one apple and saying, exactly. Oh, I don't like apples. But maybe you tried a green apple and you didn't know, well, there's also a red and other apples that exist too. Again, It's going, what can I bring to this, or what am I making this mean? About meaning making, and is that going to be useful to hold on to that meaning making of something? Because if we're here to expand, and you go to a yoga class and you're like, I don't like yoga, maybe it was just you didn't vibe with the teacher, or you didn't like the movements that were presented. You're like, I'm never going to do that again. And then you've missed out on maybe a huge expansion of trying different yoga classes again. That's really where we can catch ourselves and still question and get curious of what I'm making this mean, and is this fully true? And like what you said, if I'm truly conscious, it's not wrong, right, good, bad. What can I bring to this? I love that metaphor so much.
Totally. Yeah, and that's how you start to form trauma, for example, right? You have a traumatic, unpleasant experience with someone, something, some space, some time, and if you don't clear that judgment, that point of view you have about it, or that group of people, or that incident, or everything that is interconnected with that, then you're going to live from a traumatic, always limited. You're never going to really live in your infinite, prosperous space.
Yeah.
But the opposite, you're going to be in a very confined, limited, and diminished state. Right?
Absolutely.
And that's why it's so important to resolve these trauma issues and these judgments that we have about things, because that's how we're gonna be in our highest state, be in our state where you're open to receive and in possibilities and in lightness.
Absolutely. I mean, one way that I really like to explain even trauma, because it's so interesting, right? Where like someone, me and you could be shared something from a family member, a religious system out in the world, right? Someone can make a comment or a judgment to us. And
Yeah.
we could then create it to be trauma in our minds and bodies, right? And someone could also hear it. So, for example, let's say me and you were told something. How come one of us maybe that would turn into trauma and for one of us maybe wouldn't? And it's a really interesting thing, but I think it maybe goes back to this whole conversation of how we judged it in that moment. And I always look at it like it's like a tube and there's a marshmallow that comes through. Maybe again, that was a messaging, what someone said, a situation that happened. And what happened is the marshmallow expanded in the tube. And so it's there. So right, it's like this memory story now is trapped in there. Whereas like for some people, the marshmallow just goes through and just falls through. It doesn't stay, doesn't stick.
Yeah.
And then what the work I think we both really do, and what we're here to do for other people at a soul level, is if those marshmallows have expanded into the tube, it's to shrink them down and then have them go through. Because again, what does that bring in? It's bringing less judgment to self, less judgment into your outer world. And then what comes from that is a higher consciousness, a higher awareness. And think about it, you have a more clear and open channel to receive more, to give more, and people feel that energy. I mean, the reason that me and you connected, it's so crazy. But I mean, I hadn't even like actually talked with you yet. And I was like, your soul needs to be in conversation with this human.
Right.
And because I was clear enough in my mind and body to, again, a light thought, it wasn't this like, you need to go talk to him. It wasn't this forced chasing. It was like, no, this has happened. It was very just, it was just, these things come through us and it's more powerful than us. And so even a perfect example of just even our collaboration is because of that open vessel experience that I got to witness in a moment to then do some form of action to reach out. And those are blessings. I would call those blessings,
Totally, yeah. That was awareness.
Yeah, awareness.
You got a ping. It was a light, feather-like experience, right? A thought came to you. It's a possibility. It wasn't a judgment. It wasn't a conclusion. Also, because, judgments, what's interesting is judgments are also sometimes positive. It's not just a negative. We associate it as just a negative, right? Usually. But however, judgment can also be a good thing when you proclaim that this is the best person for me, or this is the best situation, or this is the only good thing for me, etc. and so forth. You're actually proclaiming, you're actually judging it. Because even a great situation is never just meant to be as is. All situations, everything in life is progressively meant to constantly get better. That's why, how does it get any better is one of my most favorite questions. Because even at a great situation, if you're just sitting in it and not allowing and not being in a space or the vessel to open to even more, you're judging it in a way. You're saying this is it, that's all that's possible. And the truth of this universe is there is no limit. There is no end. There is no such thing as a limit or a closure or an ending to something. It is a continuous process of expansion, of getting better, 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 and better. No limit.
Beautiful, Michael. I love the way. And again, I love that. I think I love metaphors. I know that my mind, at least when I was, started working the subconscious work, I think metaphors are so powerful for our mind than words can be. Sometimes I think words, we can lose the magic in words itself. But I love what you had said. I think a really big takeaway about judgment today, and also I love too, right? Even think about the word judgment, we can already judge it as being bad or being it's actually just openness. But even the idea, the closed door versus is there no doors at all? That it's just open. And again, it's kind of funny in this human experience, right, that we live in like homes with doors or cars with doors. And again, if we go back to nature's one that I just love to go back to of learning so much from. Yeah. They don't have doors, they don't have walls, they don't live within walls. And so again, there is that like complete, and think about all the flow that's occurring in nature. And so even just the constructs that we have around us that, again, not good or bad, wrong or right, but going, where am I in my own mind creating these doors, creating these walls, creating these homes, creating these basements, and within my boxes. Own thoughts, no way I'm perceiving.
Yeah, boxes, right? Like limiting, putting you into a box space, not seeing all the possibilities. Yeah.
Yeah.
So true.
Yeah. Oh, beautiful, beautiful. Let's again, I like these to be a little bit short because again, we share so much
Yeah.
activation when we connect. And so I always want to be mindful of, I don't want to give too much where again we can in this world we're very much our minds can only take in so much at a time. So I want to start wrapping it up and I just invite people to really again I really want people when they're listening in, what are you doing with this info? Like, what action are you doing? What commitment to self? I would say commitment to self, commitment to cells. What commitment are you creating for yourselves moving forward after listening to this? You made the time to listen. What are you going to do with the word judgment, your consciousness, your awareness, your expansion with this conversation? I want to hear in the comments, or you can reach out to one of us. But also know that, both of us are here to help continue to awaken you at a soul level so that you can receive and give from a place that feels so expansive and open and aware and conscious. And so feel free to reach out if you have any questions for both of us. We're here for you. And yeah, Michael, anything you want to kind of end on for people to take, a takeaway?
What just came to me is also to be aware that we are supported. So sometimes it can be like, well, I don't know all the judgments I have, or I have so many and I had them for so long that it's just the norm. That's just what is. This is my walls. These are my box. That's my reality. You want to be very clear that the moment you choose to go towards more awareness and more expansion, you will instantly be supported.
Yeah, and the idea of like, well, we're comfortable, even to a lot of people, they're comfortable and they feel this thing called safe, of well, I don't even to like I don't need to reach out for support. I got this. And
Yeah.
I know that was something that for me was a big thing of like I can do this on my own. I got this. And when I started, going, I can be supported. I can reach out for assistance and that it changes your world too because you're again, what are you showing world that like I'm open for more and I'm open to receive and to give. We have two hands for a reason, to give and receive, and two ears, two eyes, all of that. So I love that, Michael, as well, and because that can keep you stuck too. Like, why does someone decide I'm not going to go and take care of my own consciousness? That's the most important thing we can invest in is our consciousness. And so even noticing people's thoughts, well, I want to go do that thing or invest in that thing. And then, well, what narrative is stopping you? What judgment is going on? I don't deserve that. I don't have time for that. I don't, all these things, just getting very conscious in that because we are here to expand. So anything that's getting in the way of thoughts of that expansion, though I give those that are listening the invitation to notice those, call them out today, and then see what would happen if I didn't have that thought.
Yeah.
What would I go do next? Because you cannot be expanding from thoughts and old versions of you because that is already there. How can you grow from there? You got to grow from thoughts and versions of you have not tapped into yet.
Totally.
Yeah. Beautiful, beautiful. Let's take one final deep breath in and just and intend that you breathe in everything that was useful from this conversation that you want to see into action into your life moving forward after this call. And then on your exhale, releasing all those narrative stories, judgments that were not useful as you move through. So deep breath in, bringing in all the juice of today. And exhale, releasing all that no longer serves this vessel of yours. I release, and I awaken. Show me the way to connect to my highest light and love. And show me what is next for me in this new version, an expansion of consciousness awareness. Noticing where I'm judging, not that it's good, bad, wrong, or right, but saying thank you for showing me where I can expand. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I thank you so much, Michael, for taking the time.
Thank you.
And for your wisdom.
And creating this.
Yeah. And then too, I'd love to again. I know we did one last month, and if we want to do another one next month, and
sure.
Just to continue to expand together. And for others that are listening in, we thank you for being here and making the time for you and your expansion. And have a beautiful rest of your day, Michael, and everyone here.
Thank you.
We'll meet again soon.
Yep.
So grateful.
Bye.
Bye for now.